Hi, I'm Tom Atkinson, and I'm the GBC coordinator, or one of them here at BrickFair Virginia. And this is I don't know, like 7th, 8th year I've done this at BrickFair Virginia. I'm here to talk about what we got going on here. We got a bunch of GBCs, we got a bunch of new builders this time. So let's get started. And we'll start with, we're gonna end on this big one, so we'll start this one. This is a Brick World workshop module from last year that was somebody built afterwards, and there's a bunch of those coming up. And then we have a flipper module and a jam, of course, because that's what happens with these balls. And this flipping module then flips it into a shooting module, which shoots the balls way the heck up. And this is my first module ever, and was in the original 2005 BrickFest Great Ball Contraption event. And it has been improved slowly since then, but still occasionally jams and breaks. And yesterday I had to tear it apart and replace a bunch of worn out parts. So from there we go into a series of these Brick World modules from last year. And this was built by a local builder, and she found the instructions online and built one of each color. There's a blue, a red, a yellow, a black, and a white. So we'll move on. From there we go into a module which is, I encourage this kind of thing where it's not only functional, but it's pretty.
Yeah, I love this module. I was looking at this earlier, and I really like what the builder did with this.
Yes, this was here last year, and he was a first-time builder then, and it had problems, and he had to repair it and take it apart and so on and so forth. This year, vastly improved. And that's what the thing is. This is a learning event. If you bring a module here and you set it up and run it, you will see its weaknesses and improve upon it for next year. And this has been vastly improved, and I think this builder, who's walking behind me now, is definitely hooked, and will be building more modules in the future.
That's good to hear.
So from there we move into one that, this is a copy of one that was done online. It's a really interesting mechanism, how it slows down in time for the balls to roll in, and then scoops them up and dumps them out again. And it can take like batches of 5 balls at once. And the gears and stuff are really neat on this one. So from there we move on to another module that's I wouldn't say an exact copy, but the use of this octopus part from a Toy Story set was somebody did online, and this was the builder's interpretation of it. This part is interesting in that it's soft, so that it's very forgiving on the balls, and it just keeps rolling them on up. Works pretty well. So we move on to another module. This module's been seen a few times before. This is another build that somebody did online, that the builder here kind of saw the video and did his own interpretation of it. It's very interesting how the track curves around backwards and brings the balls up and dumps them. Pretty cool. From there we zigzag down and then go on to a module that has a high conveyor and then uses these quarter round conical pieces to let them down. And I guess he got a good deal on the ones that had the pirates on them, so he got a whole bunch of them. And it makes an interesting sound listening to the balls going down. So from there we go into an interpretation of an Akiyuki module. And I believe this is one of Akiyuki's early modules that was done with this type of spiral. From there we go into another interpretation of a Philo module. And then we go to a spinning disc that's made up of Technic pieces. This style of module has been built and interpreted a lot of different ways. This is a Technic version of it. From there we go to this interesting module, which is a oil pump. And I really like this module. This is another example of not just the function is cool, but it's artistically neat too.
The design looks nice.
Yeah, and it has a little, crane on top and everything, and it's pretty neat. It's been working rock solid the whole yesterday and so far today. So from there we go to, this is a rendition of a Philo module. And from there we go to a rendition of an Akiyuki module with the three-pronged picker-upper. And this has been done by several people, and anytime you copy somebody else's module just from a video or pictures, there's some engineering to be done because you can't always get all the details you need out of it. But this interpretation of it works pretty well. From there we go to a conveyor that gives us some flexibility. It gives us a lot of height and adjustability in terms of where the balls drop out. So pretty interesting and useful, going around corners and all sorts of things. And we go into this water bucket style module, which is interesting because it fills up with balls, and then the thing becomes top heavy and they dump out. And we'll see if it actually works well this time. There you go. Nice job, module. From there we go to a simple conveyor and ramp that is somewhat adjustable. So again, something we can adjust the length where we need to. Another interpretation of this spinning disc module. And then we get to our bridge. This is Stuart's entranceway, which allows us to get in and out without crawling on the floor, which is a good thing.
Amen.
Amen, yes. And we'll skip on ahead past all this. So from here, the balls just drop freeform into this thing, which soaks up all the energy and dumps them out in a nice organized fashion into the next module. From there we go into this. This is really the feeder for the robotic arm. Has an interesting mechanism that it kind of gates a certain quantity of balls. If you notice this axle back here, as the thing comes around and drops it down, this axle blocks more balls from rolling in. Also, you notice that when it gets too full, they recirculate, which is a useful feature. So it kind of re-regulates things. So, and it takes this batch of balls and dumps it into the white power, which then uses up the energy and moves it on to the next input. From here we have a simple conveyor that brings it up to a bunch of zigzags. And when this is completely full of balls, it's kind of a little bit mesmerizing. So this kind of thing can have a lot of balls in it and just be entertaining to watch. But it's really a simple mechanism. All the interesting thing here is being done by gravity. For here we move into a module which is based on a motorcycle wheel, which I believe is only available in one set, and it happens to be the right size that the soccer balls would fit through the holes, and I believe it's the only one. The interesting thing here, I want to point out the feeder for this. You take a bunch of balls and feed them out one at a time, and this inverted slope is what keeps the whole thing sane. It's an agitator using its own already mechanisms the mechanisms that are already there, part of the lift. So from there we go into a very similar type of thing, but he's actually getting some height out of it. And into his amphibious, this is another Stuart module. That's basically, this boat was used in the boat race, and he built a dry dock for it, and it works as a GBC module.
Hey, nice. So you get multi-purpose there.
Yeah, and his boat did okay in the race yesterday too, so it's kind of interesting. It did not win, but it did pretty well. And a dual-purpose GBC anything is pretty interesting. So from there we go to a simple conveyor with another zigzag type of thing. That's, you got balls going forward and backwards and rolling fast. From after that we go to a module that uses the track pieces inverted and brings them up on the inside and drops them out. After that we go to a new module. This module is new this year. The builder's sneaking around behind me right here. He's a young man. He's very mechanically inclined, and I think this thing is awesome. I think it's only had, it broke down yesterday for a little while, but other than that, it's been working pretty flawlessly the all of yesterday and today. He also, you got to get a shot of the award. There you go.
Okay, yeah, awesome.
From there, we go into a Philo module, kind of one of his old standbys. The Archimedes screw, nice and tight. Onto a simple conveyor and ramp that gets us around this big electrical ugly box, which is what this module is perfect for. And then we go to a module that's been around for a while. This is, I usually call it my up and down. Has an interesting toggle at the top that I finally, after many iterations, got working fairly reliably now. Now I just need to improve the bottom part of it. And this also has an output which is flexible and it can be used to wrap around on itself if something breaks downstream. We can also use it to get over things and around corners or whatever. From there we move on to a new builder's module. We're going to get into a bunch of new builders here, and I will point that out. It's basically using an EV3 to run two modules, each having their own motor and input and output. All conveyors. It's been working fairly well. The only downside I've seen to this one is occasionally the EV3 like resets itself and he has to turn it back on. And if you know the EV3, that takes 30 seconds. So from there we have a big ramp that passes right through his son's mocks, which was kind of interesting, and drops them into a simple up and down platform, which using a motor to raise and lower a tilted platform. And then that goes there into a smaller module that's based on, again, an up and down, but just up and down small ramp to kind of pump it. And there we go into a module that's based on last year's BrickFair theme of air, and it's nice and cool in front of it. So I've seen this module where the kids were hanging out in front of it just because it was nice and breezy. And the wind does actually push the balls off of the ramp and into there. And then once this gets scooped up, we go into this train loading station. This is Stewart's train, which is actually at this point the fastest, the best train module I've seen. Here comes the train, and it is definitely confused. Oh, Stewart!
It's like we got a little technical issue here. The train's not working quite properly.
It saw that and stopped.
Whoa.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Yeah, how's this?
Did it see this?
Yeah. Oh, what are you doing? You're messing up my GBC here.
It got messed up because it saw my green shirt. It uses a color sensor to determine what it's supposed to be doing. So on this side, it slows down when it sees the yellow and knows to stop when it sees the red, and then it expects to load balls. Well, I think it saw my green shirt and thought, oh, I'm supposed to be slowing down on the other side where it's supposed to unload. So it will come back. We'll make it work.
Okay.
And I'll stand back. Well, it really picks up the green quite well. So it should be coming back any second now.
I won't make any comments about how close the green is to the track in your case.
Yeah, he won't make any comments about that.
But this is to be expected. You know, there are going to be issues throughout it.
I did it again.
Yay! See, it's not seeing the. It's not seeing. It's not because you got it screwed up. It's off its cycle now.
See if we can get it running here.
I think I have to wear black shirts from now on.
This worked fine until you came here.
Yeah, well, that's how it happens. So this very end of the table, so Todd gave us, I asked for 18 tables, and due to the size of the way the rest of the layout worked, he gave us 20. And then I had a bunch of people that said, I'm bringing big modules, all of a sudden say, oh, I'm not bringing my module. So I gave away a couple of the tables. This is a pop culture on the end.
Back up. It's working fine now. There, see, look.
There you go.
Oh.
What'd you do?
I'm this far away. I think you need to work on the sensitivity there. At any rate, we'll get over on the other side.
We'll move to the other side. See what Stewart can do with that. here at the other end of the track.
You got a jam ready.
So this is where the train unloads, and you see green. See, green, green, green. So when it sees green, it slows down and then stops on the blue and dumps the balls. And now I'm going to get away from this train. With terrific timing here, we get to observe a broken module, which does happen. This young man is he's a first-time builder for GBC, and he's scrambling right now and is probably pretty embarrassed that you guys are filming his broken module. But one thing that he'll learn, and we all learn, is what goes wrong with these things and how to fix and improve them. So I'm sure next year he's going to have modules that are very well built and reliable.
Oh yeah, he'll knock it out of the park for sure.
So from there we move on to this is a module that was built from BrickWorld's last year's workshop set of parts built into a different module. So that was something I did as a challenge that was thrown out that they kind of canceled, and I said, oh well, I got another module out of it, so what the heck. And then we move on to a Philo ball pump interpretation, and I've seen several versions of this. This is about the most reliable version I've seen. It's been working great. I've never seen it jam, although I haven't spent much time over here. From there we moved on to this little pump. This is the smallest module you can have that's officially a module. And then we move into another new this year GBC builder, young man who built this thing, and it's been working solid the whole time. From there we move into a brick-built conveyor that I shamelessly stole from the Moody Boys with a square conveyor sprocket, I guess. Yeah, that isn't going to be a help. And then we move into a Philo module that's been around way too long and needs some revamping. It doesn't like too many balls. From there we move into the same guy who built this module back here is a wheel, another one of these wheel styles built out of brick, transparent brick. From there we go into, this is this year's BrickWorld workshop module that Mr. Red built 4 of them and set them up linearly to get some distance, some height out of it, and they've been working. This module was really beat up before they used it for the BrickWorld event this past June, because we knew we were going to build it into a big spiral, so we wanted it to be very reliable so that the bottom one didn't break and we'd have to take this big tower apart. But this is a very interesting interpretation of how to use them. So from there we move into again a young man who had two previous modules. This module we recognized as being the most reliable new module, and that's why he's got a brickie. And there we go into another module built by the same young man. And just to note, this module was built here in the last few days. And he got the thing working to the point where it was reliable enough to run it in the loop. I don't believe it's really had any issues, but it's pretty amazing that a young man can come here with a pile of parts and build a module and contribute it. I don't even try to do that.
Yeah, that's great that he's able to do that.
Yeah, yes it is. And we move into a module that's been around for a number of years, which has a very interesting set of little steps. It makes a sine wave. You can see that the white line is making a sine wave. This is Jason Wolfson's module. Pretty interesting. From there we go on to Thomas Mueller, the famous man who likes to pack too much crap into a suitcase. This is he really has 2 modules here. One is this blue module, which is his interpretation of a Philo design.
Although it's unusual because if you look at it, this part is free swinging.
Yep, right up until it catches up and it has to push balls, and then it pushes it around. And that goes into this big spinning disc, which is basically a feeder for Thomas's giant module this year, which is a little smaller than some previous years, but I think he doesn't know how to build small stuff, or he doesn't know how to put small stuff in his suitcase. I don't know, whatever. He always builds big ones.
But the big ones are cool to look at as well.
They are, and it's something you can see it from across the room, which is, I don't know if that's his intent, but it ends up happening. Hey, what's that thing moving way over there? And it drives people over here. So, and it's a good thing that you got long arms. From there we go into an old module I built. I call this perpetual motion because the balls can recirculate in it. The idea being that the balls on this wheel is what's driving the conveyor up. Do you believe that? No, there's a motor underneath doing the work. It's just supposed to look like that. Then we move on to another module. This was built by a young man who has, over the last few years, really blown us away in his ability to create modules. This year he got wrapped up in some other things, so he only gave us one module. I was kind of expecting 5 or 6 out of him, but he's already said next year, don't worry, I'll be back. We move on to another module that is built by a new builder, and it's a simple conveyor. It's been working quite well. And from there we move on to a module. This module was built by a young man, the same man that won the best module this year. This module came last year and was very unreliable. It fell apart every time you looked at it. It would crumble. He built it, he learned from his experience, and now this thing has been working rock solid the whole weekend. And there we go into another interpretation of a Philo module, a simple ball pump. And then we go into another simple gray box. This is another as small as they get kind of a module. From there we go into, this was built by a gentleman who excuse me, has built modules in the past, but he hasn't done so in quite some time, and now he's back. And I love the use of the colors, the new bright green, available in a lot of different Technic parts, just very recently, so you can tell this has got to be new because these parts weren't around 6 months ago. From there we go to a stepping thing that feeds a bridge, basically. And this bridge is dual purpose. We're only using it as a ball bridge right now, but it also can carry trains. I will probably do away with the train aspect of this and rebuild it into just a ball bridge because I haven't used it as a train bridge in quite some time. And then, so this is run by a pair of NXTs that talk Bluetooth, or attempt to talk Bluetooth, as I should say. From there we go on to a module which is a series of little flippers. This has been around for quite some time, works fairly well. Haven't had any issues with. And we go into another module that was on the table earlier and now has finally made it onto the, right? This is
your white module with the stepping things.
My white one broke. So one of my modules failed, so a new one was put in. Okay, good. I will have to fix that white one because surely something else will fail today. From there we go to this black lifting ramp that then feeds a module from a relatively new builder. This is an interpretation of an Akiyuki module. It's one of his designs that a lot of the detail of how it works is not in his video. So you had to kind of build the mechanism and then figure out how he powered it and got things in and out and all of that. From there we move on to a small box that just has a simple lifting arm that pumps balls, up to 4 at a time into the next module, which is a counter run by 2 NXTs. And as far as I know, this thing is behaving. What does the count say?
There's a 0 on the left here.
Yeah. We reset it this morning, so it's probably accurate. Probably.
2,212.
That's believable. And the interesting thing is, in a minute you'll see why, but we have a way of checking the count on this, and yesterday it got ahead by like 8,000, and I don't really know why or how, but Anyway, then we move on to a module that the lady who built this module was not attending this year, and she wasn't planning on bringing anything, but I sent her a plea. Oh, please bring your module, and she came and dropped it off, which was really nice of her. That was Cooney. Yay, Cooney. From here, this new module, you got to back up to get this one. This is basically a digital counter, and you can notice it's a series of flip-flops where the most significant digits down here and the least significant digits at the very top, and it's constantly flipping back and forth. So you can, by adding up the numbers for what each digit represents, get a count. I believe his counter, his mechanical digital counter, over mine that run on NXTs right now. So if you're good at math, you can get a count out of this. And you see each one of these is toggled as either a 0 or the next binomial high number. So it's pretty neat. And this has been working quite well all weekend. This is built by a builder who built GBCs years ago and has not for several years. And he got back into it now, and I think he's hooked. I think he's hooked now. He's now hooked, all right?
Yes.
So from there we go into one that's a lifting platform that has an input ramp and an output ramp. Relatively simple. It's starting to get worn out, so we kind of had to cheat and lift up the back a little because a lot of the pins and beams are now worn, and it was that close to the edge of not working to start with that it needs a revamping. We go into this module. It says my perpetual. Yeah, you're laughing before I even say it.
Prototype.
It's still a prototype, and will continue to be a prototype. It's been working fairly well. I still am not sure about the scoring in the beginning there. I'm not sure whether when I rebuild it, whether I'm going to try to do that or do something that's been done before. But anyway, perpetual prototype. I think that's what I'm going to name it. Then we move into the mesmerizing spiral Archimedes screw, which is a favorite, and the design of this was kind of an accident, and I think I've told that story before, so we'll move on. And then we go into the series of little shooters I call the Salmon Run. This was actually named by a guest at some point. They said, oh look, it looks like a salmon run. And I was like, ah, that's the name I'm going to use. So, and it also has some parts that need replacing. Started to act a little weird sometimes. But this bunch of hopping, and then it goes down this long squiggly thing and onto this slow green pusher, which just pushes pushes balls along a batch at a time into the Ferris wheel. And I commonly put this pusher into the Ferris wheel because it's low, skinny, long, and people are going to see the Ferris wheel and kind of not pay attention to this. And so it's a good module to put in before it or after it. So the Ferris wheel has been around for a long time, but it's still a public favorite just because of the size and the fact that it's a Ferris wheel. So from there we go into another module which is good to place next to the Ferris wheel, kind of long, skinny, not that interesting. This is an interpretation of a Philo module, the Wave. And this one definitely has gotten old and got worn parts in it and probably needs to be retired. From there we go into another Philo module, a simple sweeper. This style has been done by many people in many different interpretations of it. The design is fairly reliable. And we go into the train module, which brings balls, dumps in a bunch of balls, and brings them around the corner. The whole mechanism there is driven by an RCX, and it has switches and motors at both train stations. Not what's going on here, but there's an awful lot of balls backed up. This is what happens when I pay attention to you guys and not my modules. I have a feeling what's going on. Strangely enough, I've never really had too much problem with this pneumatic module until this piston right here failed on me. And then I replaced it. And then a few events later, it failed again. Now I think it's starting to happen again. And why this one, out of all the pistons in the whole thing, I'm at a loss. I have no idea. It doesn't make sense to me. There's definitely too many balls here. At any rate, we will move on. So from this, we move into, this dumps it into the loader for the monorail system, which has 4 stations and 2 trains, and they're all run by RCXs. So the stations communicate via infrared, so that the train will hold until the station ahead of it is clear, and it will load up a programmable number of balls, and it will go on and bring them on to the next station and hold until the station in front of that is clear, and eventually it ends up dumping over there. We can go over there and actually we can just talk from here. So from here, after it dumps into the ball dozer, which is Bill Bourne's module, original design. He's unfortunately not able to make it this year, and this is our one public interactive module, and we have one of the builder's daughters in control and letting kids take turns, and it's can be an awful lot of fun for young kids and adults to push the balls in, and honestly, unless you're an adult and you've driven a bulldozer or something like that, the kids learn how to do it a lot quicker than adults. It's just because kids have never driven anything before. The driving mechanism just seems to be intuitively picked up by younger people. Adults who drive cars all their life struggle with figuring out how to make the thing go where it wants to go. So at this point, I think we can wrap this up here. We've completed the circle. I thank you guys again for having the interest in these modules and all the fun and insanity of Great Ball Contraption. And I encourage people to watch videos, build, experiment at home, and get involved in this. It's an awful lot of fun. It's an awful lot of work, and there's always learning. There's always learning how to improve your modules, what to watch out for, and just it's a good thing. So.
Yeah, and this is really incredible, and I really appreciate you taking us through the whole thing. If people are interested in learning more, or maybe starting some themselves, are there websites or resources you would suggest?
Yes, there's we actually have a wiki now, a wiki website. It's greatballcontraption.com, and we've had ownership of it. Not me, but somebody that is an IT guy and motivated and a GBCer. That site was dormant for a long time, and we finally got ownership of it. And there's now people contributing all over the world. Mako Arts, who is my counterpart in Europe, has contributed to it and posts a video every time he does a new show. We have somebody from Australia who went to Brickworld, who's also a software guy who's contributing and cleaning things up. So I encourage anybody to go there. There's a forum. It's a very simple process to sign up and be able to talk on the forum. Online I use my real name, Tom Atkinson, so you can shout out to me and I will respond. I'm not on there daily, but I do check it every once in a while. And there's lots of links, and we plan to grow it so it becomes a centralized resource for anybody to go find plans or videos or just general discussion about the rules or so on and so forth. So greatballcontraption.com.
Awesome. Well, we'll make sure to put a link to that website in the description of the video here, so if people want to check that out, look in the description and we'll have a link there. So thanks for talking with us. I appreciate it, Tom.
Yes, thank you guys. Have a good day.